Hey guys, this video is going to be a gentle and all levels Vinyasa flow. It'll be moderately paced, a little bit slower than maybe my more advanced Vinyasa classes, and super stretchy and good for anyone, all levels. Let's do it. You don't need props, but if you have blocks nearby or you want to grab a blanket or something just to have in case, go for it. All right, we're gonna get started on our backs. So coming down into a Supta Baddha Konasana, which means that the bottoms of the feet are together and the knees are pointing to the edges of the mat. And then you could either rest both hands on the inner thighs, or you could rest one hand on the belly and one hand on the heart. I always like to let this point be an opportunity, maybe even to connect to the heartbeat and to connect to the breath in a way that invites you into a space of gratitude for the physical body. I'm always humbled when I realize, when I remember that the heart beats something like 100,000 times every day just to keep me in the body. In my body. Before we move, let's land with a really big and intentional inhale and exhale. So filling the lungs completely. Pause at the top and hold it. And then open the mouth for the exhale. And you have the option of hanging out right here for as long as you need. When you're ready for it, let's bring the knees together, bottoms of the feet to the floor, walking the feet a little bit wider apart towards edges of the mat, and the knees drop in towards each other. So a little opening in the outer hips. Then just windshield wiper the legs from side to side. So both knees drop to one side and then back through center and over to the other. Eventually making your way back through neutral, let's pull both knees into the chest. Lift the shoulders up off the mat so you can clasp opposite elbows, maybe take a little rock side to side, compressing into the hip joints and lengthening out low back. And then release the back of the heart back down. Cross the right ankle over the left knee. So we're gonna take a reclined pigeon, figure 4. Right arm is gonna thread through this little triangle you've created with the legs, and then left arm reaches around, so you're interlacing hands either around left shin or the back of the left thigh. Keep the low back engaged with the mat here, and then you can invite the legs in towards the body to deepen the stretch in the outer right hip. And my favorite thing to do in this shape is roll out the ankles. And then switch directions. And then drop the arms either into a cactus or into a T. And then on your exhale, let both legs drop to the left side of the mat so that the bottom of the right foot comes to the floor. And it's as if you're trying to point right knee up towards the ceiling, directly up towards ceiling. Big exhale here. And then inhale to come back through center, and we'll swap it out. Left ankle stacks on top of right knee. Left arm threads through, right arm around, so you're interlacing hands either around right shin or right thigh. And again, low back stays touching the mat, but then you're inviting the thighs in towards the rib cage. And again, maybe roll out the ankles or flex and point the toes. And drop the arms either into a cactus or into a T. On your exhale, both legs drop over to the right side of the mat, so the bottom of the left foot comes to the floor, and it's as if you're pointing left knee directly up towards the ceiling. And then using your inhale to come back through center. Unravel the legs, pulling both knees in, and then let's drop the feet to the floor, hip width distance aside. Hip width distance apart. We're gonna bring hands down by the sides, and then grounding into the feet, couple rounds of bridge pose, press into the heels and lift the hips up high. Rolling shoulders, maybe underneath you just slightly, just as long as the head and neck feels supported here. And keep squeezing knees in towards each other so that they don't open up towards the edges of the mat. And always option to interlace hands underneath the back if that feels supported in the neck. And really important that you don't move the head and neck from side to side in this shape. Let's release the clasp of the hands if you've got it, and then one vertebrae at a time, use your whole exhale to roll down the spine. We'll take one more round of bridge pose. Moment to pause at the bottom, and then when you're ready, grounding into the feet, and on your inhale, press the hips up high. Again, shoulders roll underneath you. Maybe you interlace hands. Again, all just options. Knees stay traction on top of the heels, so maybe you squeeze inner thighs in towards each other just slightly. And then if you've got the clasp of the hands, slow lower back down, one vertebrae at a time. And pull the knees back into the chest. Extend the legs up towards the ceiling, and we're going to fire up the center line of the body, the core, by lowering the heels all the way down to the mat. Keeping the legs extended long, take your time. See if you can keep the low back engaged with the floor through the entire transition. And then releasing heels all the way down, arms extend up overhead, full body stretch. Keep the backs of the heels glued down to the mat as much as you can here. On your exhale, we're going to roll up the spine. Again, firing up in the core, come all the way up to seated. Lift up tall out of the waist. Extend the arms up overhead, and then use your exhale to fold. Hands could drop anywhere along the legs or the feet or the floor. Keep pulling the toes back so you're kicking the heels forward. And then once you've found your deepest stretch, drop the head so you're inviting chin in towards chest and lengthening out the back of the neck. And 2 more cycles of breath here. Just letting this feel good. And then use your inhale to come back up through center. Bend into the knees so that bottoms of the feet come together. Hold on to the big toes, sit up tall out of the waist, and exhale to fold. Elbows could press into inner thighs, knees towards floor. And then using an inhale to come back up through center. Let's keep the knees bent, plant the feet hip width distance, hands under the shoulders, and then inhale to lift the hips. This is one of my favorite shapes for both strengthening out down the back body while opening up the shoulders, and even into the wrists. And then lowering the hips back down. Let's cross over the ankles, coming all the way into a tabletop position. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Your fingers are spread, but not so far that you're creating tension in the hands. Let's take a couple cycles of cat-cow here. Using your inhale to open the collarbones, lift the tailbone, lift the gaze. And then exhale to round out through the spine. See if you can start the movement from your tailbone, working its way up the spine, one vertebrae at a time. So again, slowing down the movement to articulate each vertebrae in the spine. Take one more round on your own. Connect it with the breath, setting that foundation now. Movement with the inhale and the exhale. And then making your way back through neutral. On your inhale, kick right leg long behind you. Right foot is flexed. Left fingertips extend forward. If you're working on stability, you can hang out right here, or you could bend into right knee and reach left hand around for the right toes. If you've got the clasp on the foot, find a little bit of a kick. And then releasing the right toes. If you've got it, extend back long, right leg back, left fingertips forward. We're going to drop left hand to the mat and then play here with compressing the right hip joint. Pull the right knee into the chest, and then see if you can step the right foot all the way through. On your inhale, we're going to lift the upper body up. Palms come to touch. Come onto the right toes, so you're lifting the right heel from the floor, and then baby back bend, opening heart towards sky. Inhale to release the back bend, drop the right heel to the floor, frame out the right foot, and then just straighten out through the right leg. So big hamstring stretch. This is a spot where you could use blocks if you need a little extra height. Call them go-go gadget arm extenders. Keep pulling right toes back, right hip back. And then let's re-bend into the right knee. Just as we step forward, we're going to keep left knee grounded, kick the right leg all the way back, and then drop the right knee behind the left knee and send the hips back towards the heels, untucking the toes. And opening up the outer hips and lengthening into the low back a little bit. On your inhale, come right back up through center. We're gonna uncross the right knee underneath right hip, and then maybe you shift hips side to side, and then we'll swap it out. So coming back through neutral, extend the left leg long behind you. And then eventually right fingertips reach forward and take a moment here to really find stability. When you feel ready for it, bend into the left knee, right hand could reach for left toes. If you get the clasp on the foot, find a little bit of a kick. Keep pressing the floor away from you with left hand, so you're lifting up out of left shoulder socket. On your inhale, come back through center, finding length for a moment. And then right hand drops down, pull the left knee into the chest and step the foot all the way through. Upper body lifts, bring palms all the way to touch. Come onto the left toes, so you're lifting left heel from the mat, and then baby back bend, opening heart towards the sky. So in this shape, we are lengthening out the front of the right hip, as well as opening up the heart. Drop the left heel back down, releasing back through center. We're gonna keep the right knee grounded. Now kick the left leg back, and drop the left knee behind the right knee. Untuck the toes, exhale, send hips back towards the heels. Chin in towards chest, nose in towards knees. And using your inhale to come back up through center. Unravel left knee underneath left hip. One more time, rocking gently side to side. And then coming back through neutral, let's curl onto the toes. Lift the knees just to a hover above the floor. So starting to build a little bit of heat, firing up through the core. Really press the floor away with the hands. And then on your exhale, send the hips back, straighten out the legs, downward dog. Pedal out the feet by bending into one knee and then the other knee. And then on your exhale, let's walk the feet all the way to the top of the mat, coming into a forward fold, Uttanasana. Go ahead and clasp opposite elbows here. And just let yourself sway side to side. I'm a really big fan of finding movement in deep stretches, gentle movement, because it allows us to kind of roll out the stretch a little bit and move throughout the muscles. And coming back through center. Release hands down towards floor. One vertebrae at a time. Slow roll up the spine, coming all the way to standing. So it's as if I press the slow motion button on the TV. And once you're up, arms extend up overhead. Palms come to touch, gaze up to the fingertips. On your exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. With your inhale, halfway lift, long spine. And exhale to release. Plant the hands, step back into a high plank. Wrists underneath the shoulders, knowing that at any point this causes tension in the low back, you're encouraged to drop the knees to the floor. We're just going to start here by shifting our weight forward and back, so we're rolling out the wrists a little bit. Maybe find some circles on the wrists with knees grounded or lifted. And then keeping the elbows into the side bodies. On your exhale, we're going to lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes at the bottom. Bring arms to airplane wings beside you. We're going to zip the legs up tight so your big toes come all the way to touch. And then inhale to lift everything from the floor into a locust pose. So heart lifts, toes lift, but keep squeezing the heels together. And always option to interlace hands at the low back if that feels supported, if it's available in the shoulders. Head and neck stay in line with the spine. And then exhale to release back down. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders, and actually let's come up onto fingertips. A little bit of wrist strengthening. We're going to ground into the knees, curl onto the toes, and then pressing into the fingertips. On your exhale, we're going to press all the way up into a tabletop position, and as you do, actively round through the back body. So tucking tailbone down, chin in towards chest, and then walk the hands all the way back to the knees. We're going to come up to standing on the shins. One round of camel pose. Hands come to the low back. Roll the shoulders together on the back body as you tuck the tailbone forward. Glutes engage and open the heart to the sky. Only going as far as feels supported in the low spine. And then inhale to come back up through center. Release the hands underneath the shoulders. So coming back into a tabletop position. Important after a back bend that you find a neutral spine first. And then curl onto the toes and exhale, send the hips back, downward dog. On your exhale, walk the feet all the way to the top of the mat, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. I encourage you to open the mouth for the exhale, release. Inhale to rise, come all the way through standing, palms to touch, gaze up to the fingertips. And then exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, lengthen. Exhale, release. Plant the hands, step back into a high plank. On your exhale, lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes. This time bring hands wider than the mat so you're tenting the fingertips. And then press into the fingers. Inhale, lift the heart. Shoulders together and down the back body. And then on your exhale, drop right shoulder down, right ear releases towards the floor. Inhale to come back through center. And exhale, left shoulder drops. And inhale to come back through center. Release the heart to the floor, hands underneath the shoulders. Let's come back up onto fingertips one more time here. Stay grounded into the knees and curl onto the toes. Press all the way up through a tabletop on your fingertips, and as you do, round through the back body, tucking tailbone down. Drop the palms to the floor, finding a neutral spine. Curl onto the toes and lift the hips back, downward dog. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high, and then bend the knee to open up the hips. So think of stacking right hip on top of left, right heel towards left glute, and then right shoulder shifts down just slightly. Just roll out the right ankle. On your exhale, pull the right knee into the chest, stepping foot all the way through. On your inhale, come up, high crescent lunge, shoulders to stack on top of hips, turning pinkies in towards each other just slightly. On your next exhale, warrior two, left foot spins flat, gazes over right middle finger. So shoulders are back and down, really extend long through the fingertips. We're gonna move forward into an extended side angle, which means right fingertips reach forward and down. You can either bring right elbow to right knee, right hand to the floor, or right hand to a prop. Left arm extends up overhead. Let's reach left arm all the way to the front of the room. On your next inhale, come all the way up, reverse warrior. So legs stay as they are, left hand to the left thigh, right arm comes up and over. And on your exhale, cartwheel the hands, frame out the right foot. Step the back foot forward, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Bring hands to interlace at the low back so you're opening the shoulders and the heart, and then keep that clasp of the hands as you exhale, fold. Hands stay exactly as they are. Take a bend into the right knee and let the right shoulder drop in towards the right knee. And then re-straighten through the right leg, swap it out, left knee bends, left shoulder drops. And then straighten through the left leg, release the hands to the mat with your inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, release, plant the hands, step back into a high plank. Pausing in your high plank, actively press the floor away. Full cycle of breath, building up just a little bit of heat. And on your exhale, lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes, inhale, baby cobra, no pressure in the hands. And exhale to release. This time, curl onto the toes. Your knees can stay grounded on the mat or they can lift. On your inhale, we're gonna press back up, high plank. And then exhale, send the hips back, downward dog. Using your next inhale, left toes sweep high. Bend the knee to open up the hips. You're stacking left hip and then roll out the left ankle. Left shoulder shifts down just a little bit. And using an exhale, pull the left knee into the chest. Step the foot all the way through. Staying on the ball of the right foot, inhale, upper body lifts, high crescent lunge, shoulders to stack on top of the hips. Turn pinkies in towards each other. On your next exhale, warrior two, right foot spins so it's parallel to the back edge of the mat. And then imagine someone's playing tug of war on the fingertips. You're really reaching long through the hands. Shifting forward, extended side angle, left hand forward and down, left elbow either to the knee or hand down to the mat or to a block. Right fingertips start by extending up overhead and then sweep the right fingertips all the way to the front of the room. Keep the legs exactly as they are. As you inhale, come all the way up, reverse warrior. Right hand, right thigh, left arm up and over. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands, frame out the left foot. Step back into a high plank. Wrists underneath the shoulders. Pause here and hold it. Really press the floor away. Just one little burst of heat here. Let's shift to the outside edge of right foot. Left fingertips open up, side plank. You can always keep the left foot to the floor for a modification. On your inhale, come back through center, high plank, and then swap it out for the other side. Come to the outside edge of left foot, right fingertips open up. Again, modification could be to bring right foot to the floor. On your next inhale, come back through center, high plank. On your exhale, lower it onto the forearms, forearm plank. Just one cycle of breath here. We're not hanging too long. Drop the knees to the floor. Untuck the toes. Finding Sphinx pose, drop the belly and the hips down and forward. So you're actively pulling heart through the shoulders and staying tall through the crown of the head. If you feel like you could take this farther, you could lift the elbows towards seal, maybe even straightening out the arms. If that causes a kink in the low back, let it go. And then releasing the elbows back down. Release the heart back down. Hands slide underneath the shoulders. Let's ground into the knees and press all the way back into a child's pose. Hips towards heels. Heart towards thighs. Forehead towards floor. And big cycle of breath to land here.